My name is Grace. I am a student at Tufts University. I just finished my first year and I am a bio and psych double major. Today I will be talking about how I got into Tufts University. I will be talking about my stats. I will be talking about the best tips for you to get in and my experience with admissions overall. Just a quick disclaimer, I am not part of Tufts admissions. I am not part of their staff. I am just a student who goes to Tufts. These are my experiences applying. I also want to note that I am in no way trying to brag. I am just trying to spread information and give you guys the most helpful tips to get in. Do not feel bad if your stats are different or you didn't get in. I'm just trying to help you guys. Starting off with some stats when I applied to college my junior year of high school. So I took the SAT a few times and my highest combined score on reading was 750 and my highest score on the math portion was 800. So in total it was 1550. My high school had two different types of GPAs, unweighted GPA and a weighted GPA. And the weighted GPA was what colleges took more into account because it was an easier way to compare students. For unweighted GPA, I had a 3.75, which is a mix of A's and B's, and my weighted GPA was a 4.3 out of 5. Throughout high school, I took a lot of honors classes, mostly honors classes, and I did relatively well in those, and that's how my GPA was calculated. I also applied ED1 to Tufts, which means that I applied early decision. Early decision is when a student applies with a binding contract with the school that if the school accepts that student is definitely 100% going to that school. And this is advantageous for both the school and the student because if the school sees that a student, it will definitely go to their school if accepted. It makes them that much more likely to accept that very committed student. And for the student's benefit, it increases their chances of getting into that school. I recommend ED1 or ED in general for any student who is 100% sure that that school is the perfect school for them. ED is binding and you can't break out of it. You can't decide that that school is just not good anymore or not good for you. You have to go to that school if you're accepted. So I applied ED1 and applying ED does increase the chances of getting admitted into a lot of schools, and Tufts especially likes to see that you're applying ED or ED2. There's no difference between ED1 and ED2. It's just that there's different deadlines for each. And if you don't want to apply ED, you can apply RD. That's totally fine. The majority of students that get into Tufts are applying RD, so it doesn't really matter. And RD just means that it's not binding. Regular decision does not require you to go to that school. You can pick and choose from whatever school you want. Okay, let's get some other standardized tests out of the way. So I took AP Bio and AP US History when I was a junior, and I got a 5 on AP Bio and a 4 on AP US History, and I also got a 790 on the Bio SAT 2 and also a 790 on Math SAT 2. Okay, so here are some other things that I did in high school. I was the opinion editor of my school newspaper, and that was a leadership role that I had for 2 years. And then I also was on varsity tennis, and my team was the state champions that year. And also I did over 300 hours of volunteering, and I think that these things just really added to my application. Another thing to note is that I had a really great interview. I really liked my interviewer. We bonded over a lot of the same topics, like living really close to each other and talking about Tufts, and I think she and I both had a really great time, and it was a really great conversation. So I'm not sure how much that influenced my application, but I just thought it would be something to note. Moving on to tips that I have for you guys. My number one tip is to write your essays as unique as possible, especially for Tufts. I think that Tufts really looks for a unique perspective or a unique view. Tufts really emphasizes like global themes and diversity. So I think that if you bring a unique perspective or you have a unique experience to share, then Tufts really likes that. Another thing to note about your essays is fit. So whenever I wrote the Why Tufts essay, I was sure to list specific professors, list specific buildings, list specific events that I want to attend on the Tufts campus. And a big thing that they look for is how well you as a student would fit onto their campus. So if they read your essay and would think like, oh, I can imagine so or so on this campus, then that's really good. And that's another step towards convincing the admissions officer that you're meant to be at that school or Tufts. The second tip that I have is guiding your recommendations. So recommendations are something that I haven't really talked about yet, but essentially guiding your recommendations is helping your teacher write your recommendations so they sort of know what to write about and what you want them to write about. And I know that it might seem weird to tell your teacher what to write in the recommendation, but my high school teachers made an effort to let us know that we have input into what they write. So like my English teacher and my bio teacher both set up meetings with me to ask me what they should put into my recommendations, and I listed some qualities and examples of things that I did in their classes to show that I was a strong, intellectual and very curious student, and I think that really helped me strengthen my recommendations from those teachers. My third tip is to actually tour the school. I know that it's not possible for everybody, and I know that COVID really throws some things out the window, but if you still can, give the school a tour. And admissions officers sometimes do keep track of who actually visits their school, and it can help your application. Tufts wants to see that you're really interested in their school, you're actually considering their school, and that you would be likely to go if you were accepted. They really just look for demonstrated interest. Number 4 is explaining your trends. So something that I learned from the whole college application process is that college admissions officers are really just looking for a story. So if you have had like a tough freshman year in high school and your grades slowly went up, you should be sure to explain these trends in your essays or in your interview. You want to create a cohesive story. If you start off with good grades and then they sort of went downhill, that's still okay. You just have to explain why that happened. I focused too much on extracurriculars and I didn't have time for studying. Or you can say something like, I didn't know what to prioritize and my grades suffered, something to explain exactly why that happened. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you just have a downward trend and no explanation, and they don't want to see that. They would be fine with an explanation. Just be sure to tell your story. Number 5 is to get an interview if you can. Not all schools will offer interviews, and some schools that do offer interviews only offer it to some students. So you might not be able to get an interview, but if you can, do your best to, because having a good interview just ties a bow on your application. And when the interviewer also vouches for you and says like, yep, this is a great candidate, the admissions officer is just a little bit more likely to accept you. These are all the tips that I have for you guys today about how to get into Tufts and some other tips on how to get into your dream colleges. And I really hope that this helped some of you guys. And if it did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye.